G'day guys and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're talking again about the 22 build. So for those of you who are not aware, over the space of the last, let's say 12 months now, I've been building up this Tikka T1X from stock standard up to something that you would use for, let's say, PRS 22, NRL 22, that sort of style competition slash you want to be very, very accurate in shooting rabbits in the face. This is the firearm that we're trying to build. So to catch up, because it's been a while since I've put one of these videos out, and you can obviously go back and watch it on the playlist, but I'll just recap real quick. Some of the things we've done to this gun here is we've put it in an MDT XRS chassis. It has a Timney 2-stage trigger. It has a 30 MOA Picatinny rail, or is it a 20? I can't remember now. It's either a 20 or a 30 MOA rail. That was from Australian Tactical Precision. At the moment, we have a Discovery Optics ED PRS Gen 2 5-25 by 56 SFIR first focal plane Z. Holy, that is a name and a mouthful. We've got UTG bipod on it. We have an extended bolt knob, which is a new addition, which I haven't talked about yet, but we will talk about that. Some custom little spacers here, and that's about it. I'm gonna put this down because this thing's fucking heavy. So if you go back in the playlist and you watch all the other videos, you'll see I shot a few different cheap ammunitions, just stuff that you would typically go hunting with, and I found what this gun shot the best out of all of that, which ended up being CCI standards. So that formed our baseline, and then using CCI standards, I stepped through a few different modifications that the Patreon viewers voted on of what I would do next. So yeah, we changed the scope from a 3-9 to a 25 power scope. Then we did some modifications to the stock. Then we changed the stock. Then we changed the trigger, and stepped our way through. Now the whole time everyone's going, "Oh, why don't you try match ammunition?" And I always said, yes, I do want to do that eventually after I've shown you what changing the gun will actually do for you. The premise of that wasn't to see the most accuracy I could get out of the gun, because I knew that you'd have to go to match ammunition to get that when you're shooting rimfire. That's just how it works. I wanted to show if you spend your money on a thing for your gun, what you're reasonably expecting to get out of it in percentage of accuracy increase, and that's how the whole series has been kind of put together thus far. So if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. And that'll bring you up to speed on where we're at right now. The only thing I have actually changed on this gun before I started doing match ammunition was this scope here from Discovery Optics. Now this was sent out to me by Discovery Optics because I wasn't actually asking for this specific scope. I just said, hey, do you have any scopes that are going to be good for a 22 PRS? And they said, well, actually this scope is pretty well designed for doing that. Do you want to test it out? I put this up against my Falcon Endura, which is like a very entry-level PRS scope. That's what they market it as anyway. The glass clarity on this was a shitload better. The dial adjustment, this is huge. So look how big this thing is. It's fucking massive. And you can see that really, really well. It's super easy to grab. It's really tactile. The clicks are really, really good. I found the parallax adjustment really easy. It just, in every way, shape and form, it performed better than the Falcon Endura, which made me laugh because the Falcon Endura is almost twice the price. The only thing that this doesn't have that they other one did was that was a 3.5 at the low end. This is a 5 at the low end. So if you're shooting closer, let's say you had a stage where they had, I don't know, 20-yard targets, that might be an issue. I think for the style of what I'm doing with this rifle, I think 5 is a fairly appropriate low end, so I'm not really that miffed about it, although I do generally prefer scopes to have a broader low end, ergo less magnification. It kind of looks a bit ridiculous because Discovery Optics scopes are always huge, so this little gun with this massive scope kind of looks stupid, but it performs way better than that other scope, and I ended up selling that. So before we talk about match ammunition, let's talk about the average group we got from the start. So the best ammunition was the CCI standard, and that was shooting an average group size of 0.743 of an inch at 50 meters. The best group I shot with that ammunition was a 0.43. So obviously inconsistency. It's not match ammunition, so obviously you're gonna have that. But that was the best I could get the gun to shoot stock standard straight out of the box. By the time I'd done all of these modifications, the gun was shooting 0.4s on average, with the best groups being like 0.2s. So we were already with shitty, cheap, shit ammunition. We were shooting really, really well. So then obviously now we've gone into match ammunition, and some of it performed really well, some of it performed not too well, and it just goes to show you really do need to test the ammunition in your rifle. You can't just say, oh yes, this ammunition here is the best and that's what you should shoot, because it might not shoot in your rifle. Each match ammunition has different lots, and you have to lot test as well, not just I need to buy this brand like Ely Match. You've got Ely Match with different lots, which also is all different velocities, and they make it like that so you can pick which one suits your rifle the best. A lot of people don't fully understand that, and you know, might go to a gun shop and go, have you got Ely Match lot number blah? And they look at you like you're a fucking idiot because they don't understand the lot number thing. So from worst to best on what I shot, the worst ammunition out of this particular rifle was Lapua Center X, which I thought was quite amusing because that's highly regarded as very, very good ammunition. So we had an average group size of 0.89, with the best group only being 0.77. So it was not even better than, you know, the CCI standard out of my gun. The next was RWS pistol match. The average group was 0.76. with the best group being 0.56. Next was SK long range, average group size of 0.68, best group of 0.39. And then we get into where the rifle really did start performing. So Ely 10X, 0.50 average group, best group of 0.233. Ely Match, 0.44 was the average, and the best group was 0.23, so pretty much on par with the 10X, but over a number of groups. Now I shot 10 groups of each of these ammunitions, so the average was slightly lower. And then SK Rifle Match performed the best overall with an average of 0.41, and the best group being 0.18. It's funny that mathematically that works out, that it was averaging better because it did have a number of groups that were in the 0.1s. However, when the groups were bigger, they were a lot bigger. So that brought the average down because we did have a number of groups that were really, really small, but averagely a lot of them were bigger. So I've actually decided to stick with Ely Match. It is very good ammunition and it is in a relatively good price range. I think it's still like $33 a box, which is ridiculous. I'm probably going to take Ely Match and lot test it. So what I mean by lot testing, for those of you who don't know, they make different lots and they might make each lot a few times a year. So you might have, let's say, 3 or 4 different velocities, and they change the powders in them slightly and a few different priming compounds and things like that. This is not what they're called, but let's just, for ease of your brains wrapping your head around it, let's just call it lot 1, lot 2, lot 3, and lot 4. And they might produce lot 1 for the first 3 months, then the next 3 months they produce lot 2, then lot 3, then lot 4, then go back to producing lot 1 again at the start of the next year. So there will be a shitload of each different lot, and you get ammunition from each of those lots because they are going different velocities, and then you lot test it in your rifle and see which velocity band your rifle prefers. I hope that makes sense, and I hope I explained that correctly. If you are like a wizard in the rimfire game and I have explained that incorrectly, please correct me in the comments, because I'm trying to learn this rimfire stuff at the same time as I'm trying to teach you guys. So we're all here in this together. But in terms of how the rifle is performing, I am fairly happy with it. I'm shooting groups that are keeping up with friends of mine who have rifles that have been custom built. They have rifles with very expensive barrels on them that have been made by very, very good gunsmiths, and this is keeping up with them, and this is a $840 Tikka T1X with the factory barrel still installed. Haven't done anything else to it. I think that is actually quite insane, and it just goes to show you how good the Tikka T1Xs actually are. For some reason, they're not as popular as the CZ457s. I think they hold in there extremely well. I still haven't fully run this new bolt handle, but I don't know if you can see this. It is, that's a good way of saying it. There you go. It's massive. The standard bolt handles on the Tikkas aren't great, and this just makes it so, even just dry firing, it just makes it so much easier, particularly when I don't want to break my position and I just want to shoot, lift, and just do that. So I'm going to be pretty happy when I get to go and actually test that live fire, which should be soon, hopefully, but there's a lot going on, so I don't actually know. Now, in terms of what I want to do next, I know that I want to shoot Ely match. I do eventually want to rebarrel this gun just because I can, but before I do that, because the Tikka barrels are actually very well made, and the way you get your accuracy out of a rimfire is out of the chamber more so than anything else. So what I'm going to do, just as a test and just to, you know, appease my curiosity, is I'm going to step the factory barrel back, you know, 1/8 of an inch, and I'm going to run a match chamber in it just to recut that chamber, so it'll be a whole new throat, etc. And I'm going to set it so it has, you know, a match style headspace, which is generally tighter, and then shoot the gun again and see if that actually changes any of the accuracy that we're getting out of this barrel. I'm tipping that it probably will, and then once I do that test, if it shoots, like let's say it shoots absolutely amazing, then every single group is a 0.1, that barrel is staying on. If it doesn't though, what I do want to do is I want to put an IBI Olympic match barrel on it, and then we'll redo some testing, because I think that would be fantastic. But as I said, that's going to be a down the track thing. I'm trying to squeeze all these little personal projects in between work. Sometimes it gets a little bit hard to do, but we'll get there eventually. One thing I will have to decide, if I do rebarrel it, or / when I rebarrel it, do I stay with a 16.5 inch barrel to keep it this cool little compact, almost looks like a blaster from fucking Star Wars or something, or do I want to go to an 18 or a 20 inch barrel like most of the comp guns around? So I'll make that decision later. Anyway, that's the update on the gun. I hope you got something out of that. I will see you next video, and hooroo.